everybody. Check, check. Hello, everybody. All right. Let's see if I can find it. Oops. Okay. Just making sure that everything's working. All right, how's everyone doing? I'm so happy because I got my Taylor back. Had some work done to it. The frets needed some leveling and some intonation, and actually the action was a little low. I think it was Colorado that did it. Very dry here in the winter, and I probably misbehaved a few times and left the guitar out and didn't have the humidifier always juiced and ready to go. So he did a really great job, and back in action. Hey, Francoise. Francoise. Hey, Kimon. Hey, Julia. All right. Got some people already. I love it. I was just messing around this morning and might save this idea here, this little idea here. Something to start with for a song, perhaps. It's got to go somewhere else as well. So that's a D over F sharp right there, and D over F sharp would be a chord inversion. It's like a first inversion D, so we'll get into that. So, this is going to be a little lesson on chord inversions and talking about music theory. Let's see what my cousin wants here. He's calling, but that's all right. We'll talk to him in a bit. So, what are chord inversions first off, and then let's decide how to best approach that. If you've ever played piano. Piano is kind of a great way to look at music theory a little more linearly or clearly, and then the guitar is going to be a step up in terms of complexity. So, what do I mean? Well, if I play a piano and I play like a C major chord, it's a root position chord as far as just C, E, G. But as soon as I take that C up an octave on a piano, I would just move my hand over, and so that's pretty basic to learn. And even beginner piano, you kind of learn, here's your inversion. On guitar, it's not so simple because we don't really see it as clearly. So my goal is to break that mystery and talk about how to play these chords that are a little more, harder to suss out on guitar, but they're really worth the effort because they're such fun to play. So, how's everyone doing? Is everyone having a nice weekend? I'm headed to Nebraska, so I wanted to do a little live stream here and say hello, and then I'm going to basically be playing some gigs with a country band I'm involved in. And so why don't I start with a song here? Well, people come on in, and then we'll start our lesson on chord inversions. Enjoying some nice coffee on a Friday morning for me. Let me know where you're at in the world, and You know, anything that you'd like to share? Okay. This is an original of mine called Are We Here? I'll play a little bit of it. Yet to be recorded. Warm up those fingers a little bit. Okay. Cool. Gigs are allowed. Yeah. Well, yes and no. There are there are capacity limits that are starting to be put in place. So, and to be quite frank, this country band I'm involved with is in Wyoming. So, how do I say this? The restrictions are a little less strict. So for better or worse. But yeah, the capacity limits are starting to open up. So gigs are starting to pick up a little bit, and people are figuring out how to do that. Bad weather in Germany. Uh-oh. Hope it's not too bad. Channel is going to be big soon. I can feel it. Wow, thank you so much, celeb. Francois. Oh man, I gotta learn French. Qu'est-ce va bon timing? Thank you very much. I think that's a good thing. I think she's saying I have good timing. Thank you. So let's talk about chord inversions. And nice to see everybody here. And so what is a chord inversion? So if we look at a major or minor chord, let's take some open chords to start with, and then we'll work our way towards other types of chords besides open position. We all know that we have chords like E, A, C, G, D. Essentially, those are our 5 open chords. There's 7 letters in the musical alphabet, A through G. So what are the 2 chords that are not open? Well, there's F. That's why we have that dreaded bar chord, and B. All right, so we've got the 7 chords pretty much all in the first 3 frets here, which is nice. And we can start there because there's no reason to get crazy right away. So if you have an inversion, let's take let's take a D. So a D chord. One of the things that's interesting about a D chord is that the chord doesn't start until the 4th string. And you may think, well, we're not using the 2 bass strings on a D chord, but it doesn't have to be that way. If we think about what are the notes of D major, you can see clearly that it's D, F sharp, and A. Okay, and if we went in order from the bass, it would be D, A, D, F sharp. Now the reason that's important is because whatever's on the bass is very important. So usually we start with root position chords, meaning the bass has the root, or D. However, any one of these notes, including A and F sharp, could be the bass. And that's the most basic way to understand a chord inversion. If you just put a different note on the bass, all of a sudden, you can have an inversion. So let's test this theory out. First off, excuse me, have a little, gotta clear my throat for a sec. Excuse me. So let's test this out. If we have the first note after D is A, what if we put the A on the bass? All of a sudden, we have, well, you know, we have to move this second fret, third string to the fifth string open. So I don't want to go too fast here. So now, if I play from the fifth string down, which your guitar teacher probably when you were a beginner told you not to do, it is correct. It is a chord inversion. And I can even pick just the fifth string and the first three strings. And it has a different sound, and it's called D over A. So here's D, just regular. Here's D over A. So I've moved the fifth, which is the A, D, E, F sharp, G, A. It's the fifth down to the bass. Okay, nice sound. Now, if I want to keep going with this, we'll say this is D, this is A, this is D, this is F sharp. Okay, so we have F sharp, the third of the chord. So what's like the third of the chord? The bass. Now, anything that's on the first string, as long as you're not tuned in drop D or something crazy, is going to be the same fret on the sixth string. So I'll move this note to here, F sharp, second fret to sixth string, and then keep my notes here. Love this chord, and this is like a songwriter's friend right here, this chord. A lot of times if you're going from G to E minor, you'll see this chord pop up. G, D over F sharp, E minor. D over F sharp. Okay, so how do we title these inversions? Well, there's root position, which is just regular old D. There's first inversion, which is over F sharp. Right, because it's the third, so it's the first inversion. The first time that the chord is being inverted is on the third as the bass. Okay, the bass is very important. In classical music, they call it the outer voices. So the outer voices would be the bass and the melody. And music, not as much now, but it used to be written in terms of, okay, you know, the outer voices are everything. So counterpoint and bass and melody moving, and then you fill in the chords. And we still want to think about that even if we're not writing counterpoint, right? We still want to understand what's the bass doing, what's the melody doing. So here's a D over F sharp. That's first inversion. What would D over A be? All right, D over A. If D over F sharp is first inversion, what's D over A? Think logically in terms of the progression of these terms. Second inversion, all right? So this would be second inversion. So we've got root position, first inversion, second inversion. Let's try this now with a different chord. All right, let's try it with, well, how about G major? Okay, everyone loves G major. Why do we love G major? Well, there's three strings on the guitar that are tuned in G major. This is actually a G major triad. Second inversion. But this is D, G, B. So we all love G. We also love E because there's three open strings of an E chord. So G and E seem to be the most kind to beginners because we can use these open strings. Although the stretch with G is a little tough. That's another topic. But anyway, here's a G root position. Okay, that's good. Now, what will we do to make inversions? We would notice the notes of this chord and put one of these notes as the bass besides G. So here's G root position. Here's a B note. It's the third note of G. So all I do is play the same chord without the bass. And I'm going to move my third finger up to the third fret second string just because it's kind of nice up there. So I'll do the kind of G with all four fingers, get rid of the middle finger, and just play from the fifth string down. All of a sudden I have G over B. G over B, first inversion. Now, why, not why, where would we use G over B most commonly? Just as I mentioned where you're going from G to E minor and you use D to F sharp as a bridge, you can use G over B as a bridge from C to A minor. Here is C, G over B. See that bass is walking down. And that's something that, you know, makes the voice leading smoother. Voice leading is how voices are moving. And the bass, everyone hears the bass, right? We hear the lowest voice. So sometimes we don't want to go C, G, A minor every time. We want to go a nice smooth transition. All right, so there's the first inversion of G, is G over B. What about the second inversion? Second inversion would be, well, here's G, here's B, here's D. We can put the D on the bass. So now we're just going to play a G chord from the 4th string down. Not as common as G over B, but still a great chord. So, root position, first inversion, second inversion. Okay? Is that making sense so far? This is just the starter kit so far to inversions. Is how do we understand them from the chords that we already know? So if you see a symbol on one of my tab sheets that can be found on Patreon and it says G over B, now you know how to play it. Of course, I'll have it written out for you. Speaking of, join the Patreon if you haven't already. We're picking up speed. It's been a great thing. I'm interacting with a few of you on there, and you know, I'm adding more tabs as we go. Have a string of busy things going on right now, so I can't wait to get back to, you know, really putting more time into it as well. So something to check out. So let me know if that's making sense. Why don't I play a song? All right. Yeah, let me play a Sam Cooke song. Much about history, don't know much biology, don't know much about science book, don't know much about the French I took, but I do know that I love you, and I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be. Don't know much about geography, much trigonometry, yeah. Don't know much about algebra, don't know what a slide rule is for, but I do know 1 and 1 is 2, and if this one could be with you, what a wonderful world this would be. Now, I don't claim to be an A student, but I'm trying a student, baby, you can win your love from me. What a wonderful world this would be. What a wonderful world this would be. wonderful world this would be. What inversion is that? I'll let you know in a sec. All right. I learned so much from this teacher. Very simply explained. Thanks. I'm so glad. Thank you. That makes me happy. Electrical. Casanova, thank you very much. Yeah, it's fun. It's so fun to share music with you all. So I appreciate you tuning in and, you know, checking out the videos. What chord was that I ended on? First off, that's a Sam Cooke song. The more famous title, What a Wonderful World, is Louis Armstrong, which I also love. But I really love the Sam Cooke, What a Wonderful World, which, you know, wasn't as huge of a hit, but just a beautiful song. Oh yeah, all right. Spacey here. So C over G would be, yeah, Julia nailed it. So C over G is one of my favorite inversions. It's just really nice. And so what we're doing is, let's do the same process so that you can do these on your own. If I have a C chord, I can put any note in the C chord in the bass. So that's C, E, G. All right, those are the three notes of a C chord. Now, if I want to have the G as the bass, that we know that that's not the lowest G there is. We know that it's 3rd fret. So if I simply move my 3rd finger to the G and put my pinky on the C, I have this C, and it just provides a little more bass and a little more low end. While we're on the topic, let's try an E. So here's a C, here's an E. We know that there's a lower E than this. All right, so we can put that here and play a C chord. A little low. You don't see this too often, but I like it. But you know, I did have a lesson on Your Song by Elton John, and he used this chord on the piano. Okay. So, oh, Helplessly Hoping? Nice. Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, nice. That would be a great time to use it. Now, one of the clearest songs you can look at, Chord Inversions, which was, you know, written on guitar, is Landslide. And I forget the capo. I do have a lesson on Landslide. I forget the capo. Maybe it's 3rd fret. It doesn't really matter for right now. But if I have a C chord in Landslide, what's that chord? The 2nd chord of the song. Here's the 3rd chord. That's A minor 7. But what's this chord here? If you can see that. I realize there's a little bit of a lag. How's the video and audio quality? I've upgraded my setup here, and you know I'm actually waiting for a new camera, but I did find a way to hook up my nice mic, and I'm waiting for this new camera to arrive, and then I can have the video quality a little bit better as well. So what chord is this? Nice inversion here. I'll just give you this one. It's G over B. All right, so C took my love, G over B took it down. All right. Now when it goes to the chorus, we have an example of D over F sharp. D over F sharp here. G, D over F sharp. E minor. C, G over B, A minor. Okay, so I think I've made my point about open chords. Let's move on, because I want to pack you with information that you can dissect and research on your own. So, what about minor chords? Same thing. If I have an A minor here, okay, I can do A minor over C, which you don't see every day, but you could do it. You could also do A minor over E. So same principle applies. But what if you are playing bar chords? or things that are not open. Well, before we get to bar chords, what about E major? Not so easy to do an inversion, but a very pretty chord. So how did I find that? So here's an E major chord. E, B, E, and G sharp are our notes. E, G sharp, and B, basically. So G sharp, you want to know your sharps and flats too. I tell my students memorize all the notes between the 6th and 5th strings up to the 7th fret. And that's going to be kind of an octave right there. Then you can move from there. So G sharp, it's a G with a 1 fret up if it's a sharp. So we can make a G chord. It's a little tricky. I like that. And the reason I'm putting these fingers here is because I don't have the room to go like this. Like I do, but it's just uncomfortable. So instead of playing the B and E open, I'm going to play the B here, 4th fret, 3rd string, 5th fret, 2nd string. And once you learn caged, you'll know that these are all notes in the E major. So there's a E over G sharp. Now E over B is a lot easier because all we need to do is just play an E from the 5th string down. About A. Here's A over C sharp. So play around with bass melodies. You know, take this weekend to mess around with bass notes. It'll make you a much better player. Hey Alan, nice to see you. What if we have bar chords now? So here's an F chord. Same thing I just did with E, I can do with F. I can take, there's an A and an F chord. And I can take an A here and go like that. Or I can do an open A, right? Open A and play the F bar chord. Let's look at, you know, a B. Here's a B. I can move it to first inversion by going here. So here's a B chord, and we know that a D sharp is in a B chord. It's also the 3rd degree of the scale. There's a D sharp. Now I just play the same notes as a B chord, but on my first finger, so I can play an inversion. It's actually a good warm-up exercise. My biggest problem is how to figure out the 7th chords. Okay, why don't we switch off to 7th chords, and then I have something to do today, so I probably will have to sign off soon. But is this making sense? So for 7 chords now, let's say we have a D7. All right, here's a D7. Now we've got 4 notes in the chord. We've got D, F sharp, A, and C. And so now we have an opportunity for a 3rd inversion. So first inversion, D7 over F sharp, D7 over A. And what's the 3rd inversion? Now that we have a 7th chord, we can actually play a 3rd inversion, where we start on the 7th of the bass as the bass. So instead of the root, 3rd, or 5th. So the 7th is C. So if we want to do a D7 over C, or a 3rd inversion D7 chord, it would be right here. And then you would... You see this sometimes when you see people, see songs that go like this. Right, the bass just goes down. That would be a 3rd inversion. A 3rd inversion, here's the 7th. Flat 7, that's a C, D, A, and D. Okay. So same thing with G. If I had a G, here's a G7. If I wanted to play a 3rd inversion G chord, a G7 chord, I would just move my G down to the flat 7th, which is F. That actually is a 3rd inversion. Or let's say you play a bar chord and you want to start on the 7th. You would just play the first 4 strings. That's a 3rd inversion G7 chord. All right, what about bar chords? Here's a C chord. Here's a first inversion C because I'm starting with the E. Just because a chord doesn't have a low bass note doesn't mean it's not a chord. All right, if you see a pianist and they're playing way up on the piano, it's still a chord. So we don't have to play bass notes on the 6th string to have it be a chord. So you might go through your bar chords this weekend and say, can I pick out some triads and 3-note chords here? So here's one. This would be an E note, and you can follow that all the way back down to E to make sure. So that's an E, and that's a first inversion C triad. Here's a root position. Here's a second inversion, starting with C. So C over G. Here's a root position. So you kind of want to categorize these triads into 3, without talking not about 7th chords right now, but just straight major chords and minor chords. Root position, first inversion, second inversion. Now, just to throw another bone out there to chew on, you can do things besides slash chords. So besides inversions. So when you talk about slash chords, now every chord inversion is a slash chord, but not every slash chord is a chord inversion. Slash chords are a bigger family of chords. So, for instance, let's go back to our D chord. I don't have to play just D, F sharp, and A, or C, the 4 notes of a D7 chord, or the 3 notes of a D major chord. I can play any note I want and see what it sounds like. One of my favorites is D over G, so D/G. Oh, it's just so great. So I'm playing a G bass with a D chord. What about D over E? I actually have a joke with one of my bandmates that we're going to end songs with D over E, no matter what key it's in, just as an inside joke, just because it's kind of jarring. Yeah, Renee is asking, have I been to a hairdresser? So, this is something, it's not the most common thing, but I buzz my own head when it gets long. I haven't been to a hair salon in about 10 years. It's not like I don't like getting my hair cut. I just like my hair short, and then I like it all growing out the same length. And I don't really like the look of a haircut, at least on me. I like it on other people. I just like my hair all the same length, short, and then I grow it out. It's kind of fun. It's not really to save money or anything, but it does happen to save a little money. But the main reason is I just like to cut it, kind of get tired of it after a while, washing it all, and then I cut it. So does that make sense? You have a D chord and then a D over G. You could do D over B. See? So you could, some songs are written like that. See how the D never changes? These are all slash chords, not necessarily inversions. Go up the D scale, D over E, D over F sharp, D over G. Finally resolve it. Let's try it over A. A over B, A over C sharp, A over D. See, the bass can be now its own voice, and it can move up and down as you please. So I hope that makes sense. We'll probably end it there because I actually wanted to do a shorter live stream today because I have to go to Nebraska. Why don't I end with one more song? Let's do Sweet Baby James by James Taylor. And feel free to say hello and let me know what video of mine you're learning from right now, if you're learning any songs, or if you have a goal of learning any songs. I'm interested to know. And I'll end with this. Okay. There is a young cowboy, he lives on the range. So good night, you moonlight ladies. Rock-a-bye, sweet baby James. Deep greens and blues are the colors I choose. Won't you let me go down in my dreams and rock-a-bye, sweet baby James. Now the 1st of December was covered with snow. So was the turnpike from Stockbridge to Boston. Though the Berkshires seemed dreamlike on account of that frosting, with 10 miles behind me, 10,000 more to go. There's a song that they sing when they take to the highway, a song that they sing when they take to the sea, a song that they sing of their home in the sky. Maybe you can believe it if it helps you to sleep. Singing works just fine for me. So good night, you moonlight ladies. Rock-a-bye, sweet baby James. Deep greens and blues are the colors I choose. Won't you let me go down in my dreams and rock-a-bye, sweet baby James. Rock-a-bye, sweet baby James, and rock-a-bye, sweet baby James. All right, so we'll sign off here in a sec. Dibakar, I saw your High Hopes lesson. I'm trying to learn the song, though it's hard for me. Yeah, it's a tough one. But I understand the whole lesson. High Hopes brings me here. Thank you so much. High Hopes from Pink Floyd. Yeah, I need to get back to Pink Floyd Friday. Just been so swamped with life right now. So more Pink Floyd to come. I love Pink Floyd. So thanks. Good luck with that lesson. Electrical. I will save this video to my computer. Thank you very much. Thank you. So sorry if you're just joining us, but I do need to go. And this will post in about 12 hours usually. So chord inversions, you got your root position, you got your first inversion, second inversion, third inversion if you have a 7th chord, and you've got open chords and bar chords, and you've got things to work through. Take this weekend, mess around with some bass notes, play some chords you know, and try to think, what bass note can I add or replace? And you'll find that it'll really open up your chord vocabulary, right? Which is a great thing to do. All right, so, and then, you also have slash chords, so try any note underneath a chord. And that's when the further you go into that, you kind of go into jazz, right? A lot of modern jazz especially will say, here's a chord, and we're just going to throw all these bass notes in there. And it's a really interesting thing when you do that. So thanks, good to see everybody. I'm going to start packing up here and getting going. But I wish you all well, happy practicing, and good to see you all. Okay? Take care, everybody. Bye.